Well, welcome everybody. We're here at the All American Hour. This show is sponsored by Penny Acox Esquire. If the popo's chasing you, call Penny for all your lawyer needs. Penny Acox Esquire. She's here in the Wiregrass area of Southeast Alabama, but she can get you taken care of internationally if you need be. She charges lots of money, so be prepared to pay because that's just the way it is. And my wife, I gotta do that, right? So, well, I'm here with Ranger Nate, man. It's All American Hour. We're here at the corner of Longstreet and Ardennes. He told me today, he goes, I got some politics I want to talk about today, man. I'm like, ooh, watch out.
Oh, it's good to be back with you, Will, and your listeners. I just finished your book yesterday. I'll tell you what, man. So for your listeners out there, if they don't know, these are just really short stories. They're not necessarily chapters, but and I'll get a couple questions, Will, if we can just ask a few questions on it, a little bit more detail, and a couple of them that I just have questions about. Nothing major, but one thing I noticed, did you self-publish this?
Yeah.
Oh, I think you did, because one thing I thought was cool was you put like soldiers capitalized, just basic rank capitalized, like we did in the military. And when I published my books, I went through a publishing company with an editor, and they had their own style, civilian style of writing. So when I brought it to their attention, soldiers need to be capitalized and command sergeant major needs to be capitalized, they wouldn't do it because of their civilian style of writing. However, if it was Command Sergeant Major Smith with a title in possession, then yes, that would be capitalized. But if I was to say the Sergeant Major, it would all be in lowercase. But I thought that was cool, man. But anyways, so I got a question for you on your book. I have a couple questions. So your tragedy at the Pope Air Force Base crash, was that a Jumpmaster class that you had there?
Yeah, so I was an instructor. I was a black hat there at the Advanced Airborne School, and our classroom and where we were teaching at was right there on Green Ramp. And so a F-16 and a C-130 crashed up in the air way away from us. But when the whole totality of it hit, the F-16 crashed into a C-141 out in front of Green Ramp and then slid all the way up through where the troops were at the mock doors and all the way up by where this big old oak tree was that was over by where the gut truck used to park.
Mm-hmm.
And it had the 20 millimeter rounds going off, and none of the students were directly injured. None of us instructors were directly injured by the crash, but we were the first responders. We were the first ones that were able to jump the wire. And, you know, the first guy I saw was the guy doing the death walk. He was on fire. And it was all that aviation fuel was just everywhere. So when
that's I didn't know if you were on a regular jump from your unit or if you were actually a black hat at Advanced Airborne School, because you don't go into that detail. You just tell the horrific story of, you know,
right,
you helping them get on the 5 tons and getting them out of there and all that stuff. I love the your mama wears a mattress on her back. Dude, my question is, so you go through it's a story for your listeners out there. It's a short story about one of your first sergeants when you were a soldier, a younger soldier, was criticizing in front of the company a thief that you had. And we've all had thieves in our units, man. And at least one or two, man, in each company, that, you know, somebody be stealing something. But then you have a short paragraph at the end where you say you come out to the formation. Now you're a first sergeant, and you say your mama wears a mattress on your back because you had a thief. So my question is, what in that incident, what did that soldier steal?
Oh, so I had a guy that was stealing from the supply room.
Oh,
He had found a way, some kind of a way that he was stealing something. He wasn't like one of the supply guys, but he had a kind of access.
yeah.
And so every time he had access, he goes take something, and it's just a mess. It's just a mess.
Yeah,
it's always such unique stories about what really happens and how it all works out, and the scope at every level of command. The scope of the things you might see gets bigger, right? When you're a squad leader, your squads, there's only so many things that little squad can do, right?
Yeah.
But then when you're a platoon sergeant, when you're a first sergeant, when you're a command sergeant major, I mean, when you get up to a division level command sergeant major, there's no telling what comes across your desk and you got to deal with, right? And so it's amazing the leadership that comes from each of those situations, all of those times that you're in front of that, like the time my guys went on strike, right? That was hilarious. I don't know if you read that one.
Oh yeah. And then the other one I had, we always Bibbs was his name. Is that correct? PFC Bibbs that you had in your unit.
Yeah.
There's a Bibbs for your listeners. There's a Bibbs situation in every unit in the Army, every company level. There's at least one or two Bibbs, and we've all had to deal with them. And Bibbs, for your listeners that haven't read it yet, Bibbs was a troubled soldier who needed attention and was troubled, and even threatened that he was going to commit suicide. And First Sergeant Marshall at the time pulled the company together and said, "All right, repeat after me. We all love Bibbs," and we all love, the company would echo it back, and that made him realize, hey, man, I'm one of the team. I don't need to prove myself or do this and that. But we've all had them. Will, we all had them in our units. We had onesies and twosies. But one story I got to tell you, going back to the thief thing. So my thief situation I had went straight to CID, Criminal Investigation Division there on Fort Bragg, and you're well aware of all of that. You were stationed there a little bit, or detailed there for a while. And we were in Bravo Company 1505 at the time, and I was a squad leader, and this was back in the 90s. And my squad leader buddy, we were getting ready to go out for like a three-day live fire field exercise, whatever. And might have even been a jump involved with it. Usually that's how it worked. But he had a soldier, to make a long story short, he had a soldier that stole a pair of PVS-7 Bravo nods. One of his gunners. Now, I don't even think he was a gunner. I think he was like a assistant gunner or something to that effect, ammo bearer or something. But anyways, he stole a pair of nods from his own squad, because we always do, we have our rucksacks or Alice packs lined up there on the rocks, and we were always doing pre-inspections and making sure everybody had all their equipment. And well, before the rucksacks went down there, we did our barracks inspections, made sure everything was tied down, everything inside. So I'm pretty sure it was an airborne operation prior to. But so when he did his final inspection out on the rocks, that's when he discovered the nods were gone. And he actually was like, "Sergeant, I have no idea what happened to my nods, my night vision. I have no idea." And my buddy was like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "I checked you twice already and you had them." And so they had to write down to get the serial number. You know how that works. And then my buddy, man, Staff Sergeant Dilks is his name. He was a good dude. Good. He was a retired first sergeant. He went to the first sergeant and company commander, did the right thing immediately and reported, hey, and he had everybody dump, everybody in the squad, everybody in the platoon. I had all my squad dump all their stuff. We dumped everything on the rocks, and we went through a piece by piece, checking for the lost sensitive item there. And so we immediately went and reported it to the chain of command there in the company. And then all of a sudden, immediately the entire battalion went on lockdown. and you know the procedure. And come to find out, CID got involved because we couldn't even go out to the field, which was kind of cool at that point, man, because it was like, hey, we got out of a 3-day field exercise, but we were still locked down in the barracks. But when CID came to question everybody, nobody was leaving the barrack. Nobody was leaving the battalion. When CID came to question, they went to his house. And they actually, you know, escorted by like Fayetteville sheriff or whoever, however they do it. You would know more than I would. But they went to his house, and he had a shed out back of his house. And he had it loaded with TA-50. Like you said, stealing from the supply room, magazines. He had over 130 round magazines. He had, I think he even had like a tripod for a machine gun, man. And he had those nods too. That's where they found him. He had them. So between lunchtime, when we went on break for lunch, he took those nods and he took them back to his house in Fayetteville, stored them away, and came back as fast as he could, like nothing ever happened. And of course, we didn't have cameras and all that stuff in the barracks and all that stuff back then. And so, anyways, come to find out, he wasn't even a U.S. citizen, brother.
Wow.
This dude was a Cuban national who got fake identification, all that stuff, moved to the United States, got to the United States, and was stealing military equipment, joined the Army, joined the infantry, went through Airborne school, and was in our unit. And so when CID took him in handcuffs, we never heard from him again. I mean, that was the last time we ever seen him. And then word came down probably about a month later. This dude was a Cuban national. It was crazy. You can't make it up, man. I'm like,
I know. Yeah, it is wild. It is totally wild.
You can't make it up.
Yeah. Oh.
I'm still waiting for Staff Sergeant Krause's book. Supposed to be arriving today, but my wife and I watched that podcast the other night, man. I'm telling you right now, and I text this to you. Or I put it on Facebook too, I think. But that was the only podcast in my life I actually teared up, man. I was like, oh my God, what this guy went through. I couldn't believe it, man. No human being could endure that. But that's where I kind of wanted to get into a little political talk with you, if you and your listeners don't mind. But and you know where I stand anyway. But anyway, I noticed something, man. When I was watching that before he got captured and all that, they were only authorized to be issued or utilize shotguns. And I'm like, no assault rifles, no machine guns, no combat power. They had them there, I'll guarantee it. And only shotguns. Now, everybody that's ever fired a weapon knows a shotgun's good for close quarter combat, and that's probably about it. But you're not going to shoot somebody 200 or 300 yards away or meters away that are coming towards you in your compound, because that could have prevented a lot of stuff happening. And I thought about it for 2 seconds, and I said, I looked at my wife. I said, I just realized something, man. I said, every time there's a Democrat administration, something gets jacked up overseas that has to do with U.S. policy in an embassy or a compound where there's political diplomats and all that stuff. Something always gets jacked up. And you're talking about Iran, because I didn't know about that shotgun thing until I watched that part of your show with Staff Sergeant Krause. The shotgun situation with Iran, Benghazi. I mean, I can go on and on. Obama was the president. Hillary Clinton was the Secretary of State during the Benghazi. We already know all that. That baffled the pullout of Afghanistan, the debacle there. It even goes to Bill Clinton, man. When that in the Persian Gulf there, where that cruiser, the suicide bombers from Al Qaeda, ran into the Navy ship there, and killed sailors, killed U.S. military personnel. That should have been the green light right then and there, brother, for us to go in and get Osama bin Laden at that point, man. But they let it go. They just let it go, man. We should have been deep into Afghanistan right then and there, man. You know, and if we were, maybe there wouldn't have been a 9/11. So those were the points that I wanted to, when I said I wanted to bring up a little political stuff. But I noticed that, man. It seems like every time there's a Democrat administration, something overseas is just going to get jacked, man. Their foreign policy, man, it's not in the best interest to protect our U.S. personnel. It's just not, man. But anyway, that's what I wanted to spiel on that one there.
One of the things that I had an opportunity not long ago to have dinner with the House Minority Whip. He is a Republican. I guess he's the Majority Whip now. He's the Republican from Minnesota, Tom Eimer. Okay. And we were at the Naval Academy, and his son was graduating from the Naval Academy and wanted to be a SEAL. And my nephew was at the Naval Academy, and he was graduating. He's going to be a pilot, and they are now. And I think that his son is in the SEAL pipeline still. But one of the things that he declared, and I understand where he's coming from, is very much what you talk about, and that's strength first. If you don't have strength, if it's not scary for somebody to punch you, then you're liable to get punched. And there's value in it being, there's value in the prickly parts of the cactus, right? That you get too close, it's like, ouch, that kind of thing. And maybe that's why the rose has the thorns, right? But I'll tell you now, and I don't want to necessarily talk about Republicans versus Democrats, because I'll tell you what, George W. Bush was a snake, and his daddy was a snake. And the stuff that they did to us and sent us into Iraq, I'm mad at that. I agree with you. I'm not a fan of that. No.
Let me tell you, I fought over in Iraq, man. 2 deployments to Iraqi freedom. I did Desert Storm when I was 18, 19. But think about Iraq. You know what would have been okay with Iraq? If we just went over there and got Saddam Hussein and his sons and then left and brought all our equipment home, man. But instead we occupied for 8 years. We sat there and occupied for 8 years and lost thousands, and the thousands more that are maimed for the rest of their lives, man. Dudes I know that will never get out of a wheelchair the rest of their life. You know what I'm saying, man? All we had to do was go over there, take out Saddam Hussein, take out his sons, and then say, okay, here's the deal. You side with against the United States again and become a threat or whatever the case may be, or go against our agreements back from 1992, or 91, from after Desert Storm, then we'll be back over here again and have to take care of you again. Because remember the old days, man, when we used to go over to a country and whip the shit, excuse my language, we'd whip the shit out of the enemy, and then we'd bring all our troops and all our equipment back home. And it was done just like that, man. But then we got into, like you said, the Bush era, man, where we sat there and just occupied. And now we're involved in trying to change governments and trying to put a democracy in a place that just doesn't believe in it. The people don't believe in it, man. So now you got thousands, tens of thousands of Americans dead, man. But I'm with you, bro.
So let's talk about, let's take a minute, just a second, and talk about something like when Bush just went down to Venezuela, right? Man, he brought the hammer home, and he got it done, and he got exactly taken care of what he wanted taken care of. And now things are happening more proper in our hemisphere, right? He looked at Greenland and said, somebody has got to defend this area. Who's going to fund it? And if nobody's going to fund it, know that I'm going to do it, and I'll do it. Right. And leave me alone about it. And I think, look, I was talking to my mama And I mean, it's wild when you're talking foreign diplomacy with your mama. But I told my mama yesterday, and she agreed with me. I wouldn't be surprised if U.S. and Russia wasn't signing some kind of a peace treaty agreement before too long. You know, Putin has made it very clear that he wants to be a part of NATO. He doesn't want to fight. He's just been made an enemy. You know, we got astronauts and cosmonauts up in space together right now.
Right now, man. 2 Americans and a Russian cosmonaut, man. I thought about the same thing when I heard when that rocket went up. I think their mission's to go around the moon, orbit around the moon or something like that. But I thought about that. I'm like, you know, these astronauts, man, they can go up in space together and hang out and become BFFs and trustworthy with one another. But these damn politicians can't get their act together and you know, get some agreement. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not on Putin's side or saying he's a good guy, man. Because I mean, at the end of the day, they did invade Ukraine, man. And he needs to make a deal. I mean, Trump wants this to stop. He's been making that clear for the last 13, 14 months he's been in office now, long before even in office. He wants it to stop. And like you said, man, I'm just glad we finally got a leader in there that's just taking care of our hemisphere. You know, like he said, that's across the Atlantic Ocean. So be it. You know, as far as our concern with it here on our homeland. And I mean that like in a vague way. You know, we're taken care of here in our homeland. We're not worried about an invasion right here, even though we had one for the 4 years prior. But I'll get into that some other time, maybe, or maybe today, however you want to do it. But I'll tell you what, man, he's changing it. We got the Western Hemisphere, we got the Americas, and he's taking care of it. In Greenland, you're absolutely right. We do need at least a defensive posture. You know, the Iron Dome, we need all that stuff in Greenland. We got to have it because if the missiles do come, who knows? When the missiles do come, they're going to come right over Greenland. You know, I saw the trajectory of how, because you don't think of it when you see a world map. You know, you look at like just a flat picture. Here's the United States. Here's Russia over here, China just below them, this and that. But when you look at the global, you know, the sphere of it, those missiles are coming across the Arctic. That's how they're going to approach into the continental United States and Canada.
So let me ask you this question, okay?
Yeah.
So I'm for taking care of our hemisphere. I'm for being the stewards of the things that go on near us, right? I'm cool with establishing some type of a buffer zone. How do we explain that buffer zone that goes all the way out to Taiwan and around Taiwan? How do we explain that part, right? We started with Guam, right? We pushed all the way out to Guam. Now you realize we're putting Patriot missiles and all kinds of stuff on Taiwan. But the whole time we have a one China policy, and we recognize that Taiwan and China are part of the same government. Well, how does that work? Do you see that as something that's weird?
Absolutely, it's weird because it's non-existent. Taiwan's their own sovereign nation, man. But
that is not the policy at all of China. It's not the policy of the United States of America. It's not the policy of Taiwan.
So you're saying that the United States recognizes that Taiwan is governed and not their own sovereign government?
Right. Well, that is the one China policy. Okay.
Okay. Well, that's China's policy, and we all know that.
Right. And so
they've been threatening to invade Taiwan for years.
Right. Okay. So it may have changed. Okay. So don't. But
right.
Since Biden was in office, he stood on the podium and said, "We agree to abide by and have always abided by the one China policy." Now, I don't think that President Trump has made any kind of statement other than that. Okay. And I can pull up on ChatGPT and find out, but I believe it is the official policy of our State Department that the one China policy is the policy of the United States of America. It's all these news channels and all these other crazy people that act as if Taiwan is something other than what it really is. And, and it can have declared its independence, just like people in Texas have declared their independence time and time again, right? We're our own state. We're Texas, and so you could stand on it and say, hey, look, Texas has declared its independence too. So, but Taiwan it's with China in some way.
Yeah, maybe what they call their president or their prime minister, maybe China just simply recognizes it. And like you said, the United States, I'll have to do some research on that, man, and get back with you on that. But I wasn't aware that the United States recognized Taiwan as part of the government of China. I know China does, and that's the whole threat conflict. But to be honest with you, while we have this president in the White House for the next 3 years, I don't think there's going to be any threat level from China, not in the near future, because what we just did in Venezuela is going to take a lot of that away economically. And if you want my opinion, what's about to go down in Iran, and I think it's going to be very soon. Of course, I've been saying that for a month, but we got that other aircraft. We have the second aircraft carrier en route. Is it going to be a full-out war? No. Is there going to be troops on the ground? Maybe a few teams of special operators. But, depending on what the mission's going to be, if it's there to take out the Ayatollah and the, Iraqi military or the Iranian military leadership, perhaps, who knows? But there is a plan, I'll guarantee it, because we got an armada there surrounding the Gulf like I haven't seen, man.
I agree. I think,
and you know what? Let's go back to China. That's gonna, we start destroying assets and economic assets of Iran. That's, once again, now you're going to affect the economic structure of China. So yeah, go ahead, brother.
So I'm a fan of what Trump's doing. Okay. What did he do? What did he do again in Venezuela? He saw a problem. These people had been wanted by the U.S. There had been a reward out for them for apparently years and years and years. So Trump went in there. We didn't lose any American lives. We decimated their defense forces without destroying everything. Dude, we turned off their air defenses, turned them off. Like, hey, we see an airplane coming in. Let's go to shoot it down. And all of a sudden they go to flip a switch and the whole just gone. Turned it off. OFF. What did they do? Did they shoot this? I mean, I don't know. A short range EMP? Did they have some kind of targeted breaker box? Something? I mean, what the frick? Right?
We did. We destroyed them.
Well, and they did the same to the people, right? They pointed some kind of a sonic weapon at the people, and they heard this deep grumbling, and all of a sudden they start bleeding from the nose, and they fall on the ground. And they're sick to their stomach. They can't move. They can't do anything, right? Meanwhile, the 22 guys scurry by, right? While you're laying on the ground going, and they go and grab them, and what? Because look. Honestly, Panama, when we did it in Panama, that was a mess, right? We didn't get him right away. He's fled to some embassy. We played rock music all night until he finally surrendered. That was crap.
Well, we lost 20-some soldiers.
Yeah.
From the 82nd Airborne Division to Special Operation Units.
Look at what you said we should have done in Iraq earlier. You said we should have gone in, got Saddam and his sons, right? So look, Trump's doing it right. so Trump to Iran, he knocked out their little bunkers. All of our fighter guys flew all those many miles, and they dropped the bombs right in their bunker and blew it up. And now they want to play more silly games. So I just got to think that Trump knows what he's doing in a way. He's got all those people from the Board of Peace or whatever gathered around him that are talking to him, and they know that, and he's helping to really set a new world order, really helping to set a real order.
I agree. I'm very right now. I'm not completely satisfied, but the way he's going, we're going to have a peaceful world here, man. Like you and I haven't seen in our lifetime. As far as Venezuela goes, man, he gave that dude ample, numerous ways out. Try to negotiate with him. Hey, bro, we'll buy you a plane ticket for you and your family. We'll send you to wherever you want to go. You want to go to Iran? You want to go to Russia? Wherever China, you want to go wherever you can. Whoever will take you, we'll get you there, bro. But you got to go. And then when it comes to Iran, he's doing it right now. Because there's a lot of people out there that are, a lot of Trump supporters right now are getting kind of like, I would say, and I'm talking about political individuals, man, DC lawmakers that are getting kind of like impatient, if you will. They're getting impatient with the Iran situation right now. They're like, we should have already taken out their regime. Well, see, President Trump doesn't think that way. He's like, well, we're not here to take out the regime. We're here to make a deal with them and try to, one more time, trying to get them to calm down, make a deal with the United States, because right now they're vulnerable. If we are going to hit them, and I truly believe it's going to happen soon here, because they're not going to make a deal. They're not going to stop their nuclear program. They're not going to stop dictating and trying to take money from these other foreign communists and former communist socialist countries to fund their military. They're not going to stop it. We know that, and Trump knows it, and his Secretary of State and all his cabinet members know that. They know that. They know they're not going to make a deal. He's given them time, and he's being very patient with them, but it's coming. I'm just, you know what? I can't wait for that Sunday morning when I wake up just to see how it goes down, man. How it goes down. Do we take out the Ayatollah? Do we capture the Ayatollah? Do we, I don't know. But like they said, though, the number one mission we'd have to do first is take out their Tomahawk, their cruise missile program, because they got thousands of them. And we got a lot of military over in that area, man. Syria, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, you know all that, man.
All right, so you heard it here first. Nate Aguinagua, he says, if the Popo's calling, you call Penny. If you're the Ayatollah or one of those other guys and you get captured up by the thought police around here, make sure you call Penny A. Cox, Esquire, for all your lawyering needs. We're here at the center of the universe, the corner of Ardennes and Longstreet, many miles. We're soldiers from the 90s. We talked about the crash at Pope Air Force Base earlier. We've talked about all kinds of things. Let's talk about the one China policy real quick. I pulled it up. Let's look and see what it says here. All right. So what China says, that there's only one China and Taiwan is part of China. Okay. Beijing considers Taiwan a breakaway province, as says reunification, peaceful or forceful, is its right. All right. So what the U.S. says, the U.S. does not agree Taiwan belongs to China. Instead, the U.S. follows something more careful called one China policy, not the same as China's one China principle. America's wording is extremely deliberate. The United States acknowledges Taiwan's position that Taiwan is part of China, but it does not accept or endorse it. Okay. That single diplomatic word acknowledge is the strategy. So it avoids recognizing Taiwan as an independent country. It says China owns Taiwan. It avoids that. and it keeps relations with both sides. Okay, so there we go. All right, so I'm right in the way that I'm saying it, but I was missing some nuance, right? I was missing the nuance exactly that they were hoping I would miss, right?
Yeah, it's almost kind of as simple as this, man. Just like Putin believes, and his administration still to this day believe, that Ukraine is a governed source of Russia. Now, mind you, that goes back to Putin's Soviet Union mindset that he's still captured on, man. And it's probably never going to go away. I mean, the guy was KGB senior officer. I don't know, man. It's almost the same, but the reality of it is, now I need to look up what the economic thing is with Taiwan, because I know we do a lot of trading with Taiwan.
Oh, so I can tell you about it if you want to hear. I can tell you what I think. So the guy that started Texas Instruments, or was part of the chip manufacturing early on and started making the microchip, he started another company that we ended up helping him start in Taiwan. And so he took all the knowledge that he learned from Texas Instruments, and we funded him to do it over there to help to do it. Just they had a ample workforce that was smart and trained and ready to go to work. And so they built a factory over there. And now, because all the research and development is done over there, there's that technology is stovepiped over there, and that's where they got it. Okay, now we're exporting it over here and starting it. But one of the things that they have to make is a facility that is so free of contamination and dust and all that all of these, all they're doing is forming sand. They're forming silica, forming this crazy thing that they then etch. And it's just really wild how exact it has to be.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I knew about the chip thing, and obviously I've known for years, when I made in Taiwan. I got some hats and some clothing and stuff made in Taiwan just as much as I do made in China. And, a lot of us do, but the foreign policy thing now, Will, if you don't mind switching over to a little domestic, little bit of political talk right now. If you and your listeners don't mind, let's talk a little bit, if you don't mind, man, let's talk a little bit about the Saving America Act.
Yeah, sponsored by Penny A. Cox, Esquire, attorney at law. For all your lawyer needs, we're going to talk about this SAVE Act. Hey, I got my deputy dog coffee cup from when I worked at the Advanced Airborne School right here from 1995. I used to be the deputy committee chief, and so they nicknamed me Deputy Dog and only let me take my bullet out once a week, And so, let's talk about the SAVE Act. It would seem to me like it's kind of common sense that you show your, when I went to vote here at my local Methodist church up the street at my voting place, I had to show my ID, and they checked me off the list. They highlighted my name. My daddy's was right, above me because I'm a junior. And, it was like, look, me and my daddy, we voted. And that was pretty cool, right? Tell me what this SAVE Act's about.
Yeah, that's the same thing with Ohio. Every time I go vote, we do ours at our public or our local library here in town. And, you have to and I've also done it in our county courthouse too in the past. But the first thing you have to do is you have to show them your driver's license or just an ID, and so they can prove A, you are who you say you are. B, you're a resident in the county that you live in, that you're voting in. And then, like you said, brother. They got you on a list, man. Right there, and they check you off. Yep, good to go. Or they can look you up on whatever computer or laptop they have there in front of them. Now, the big argument that I'm seeing on social media, and you see it on the news all the time, and certain websites, the biggest argument, and I've been in plenty of them. You're friends with me on Facebook, man. I've been in plenty of them, but the biggest one is with the SAVE Act, they also want proof of citizenship to register to vote. So now think about it, man. So if you're a first-time voter, the law is going to be, if it passes, the law would be that you have to register and you have to show a birth certificate. And you have to show, so the big argument is the ladies are like, well, what if our name changes, because we got married? Then you bring a copy of your marriage certificate, Will, for God's sakes, brother, in my safe, my gun safe, in my bedroom, brother, my wife and I have an envelope, and in that envelope we have our marriage certificate, and we have both of our notarized, freshly stamped birth certificates. Man, we just keep them in there. So they think it's impossible, and then now they play the racial game with it now, and you know this, man. You know what I'm talking about. Well, if you're a minority, if you're black or Hispanic, and you're a minority in this country, it's not as easy for you to obtain proof of citizenship, this and that, which is bullcrap, man. The bottom line, Will, and this is my opinion, and it's obvious, what they're trying to do, and this is congressional Democrats in D.C. They don't want let me back that. They want the opportunity for non-U.S. citizens to vote in our elections. And that's what they want.
Right.
Because that's the only way they can stay in power. They can't argue. In the last year and a half, have you seen any Democrat politician argue about any issues in the United States as far as helping the American people or their constituents back in their hometowns or their districts, or their states, if you're a senator? You don't hear that. How can I make my district better? How can I help? And governors doing the same thing. How can I help my people, my constituents? No, they want voting to go to illegals. And that's why they allowed 12 to 20 and maybe even more million illegals into this country during the last 4 years of the last administration. And that's what it's all about. So yes, now they're going to fight and now we're going to have to filibuster. And we're going to go into probably a filibuster, because I don't think the Republicans are going to get rid of the filibuster rule, because then at that point it only takes 51 votes to pass it and get on the president's desk for law. So they won't do that because they're afraid, well, then when the Democrats come in power, boom, there it is. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, man. I'd like it to pass. I'd like our elections to be fair with only U.S. citizens voting. But you have certain states, Will, you know this, California, New York, Minnesota, Illinois. You have certain counties and certain cities in this country that don't require ID, to show an ID to go vote.
So let me ask you this. All right. So,
sure.
So I have a friend, and if you haven't watched it, watch the NBC Room. It has been happening on Sunday nights and Wednesday nights. And Nate, I'd love to have you on as a guest this coming Wednesday night.
Okay.
It'll be our third or fourth episode. It's with my friend Raynard Burnett. He was my NBC sergeant when I was a first sergeant, and so we call it the NBC Room. And so he is
call it the NBC Room. Okay.
Yeah. He is advocating succession of the Union. He wants to do a convention of states, and he thinks that certain states are going to go to choose one way and certain states are going to choose to do another. And it's an amazing argument. It's wild to listen to him talk about it. We're going to be talking about it some more. If you haven't, go look at the YouTube channel, go look at some of the shorts and some of the things that we've put out. But we can't, his point is that we can't even look at the same thing and agree on it anymore. Like, what's the definition of a man, or what's, can a man have a baby? How does a law enforcement professional protect himself or herself if in a lawful situation she tells an ordinary citizen to stop and they refuse to stop, and they drive a vehicle straight at them? How are you supposed to do that? How does that work? Does somebody just allow to, it's a really wild kind of thing to think about what one side points at and goes, look at the bad police officers, and the people could just as easily go stay home. They could just as easily be in their own home because they're the ones causing the problems. It's not the other stuff. It's not like, it's really weird when you got to fight the bad guy and the crowd at the same time. It's like, what's going on?
And you know what? To be honest, now we're on that subject. Thank God. I'll tell you what, this is good. This is a good little show here. And I'd love to get on your Wednesday show because, Will, what I really love to do is I like to give a professional debate, man. The only problem I have on Facebook, man, is I try to do, and you can look at all my posts, I try to do a professional debate. Well, I disagree with you because of A, B, and C. And this is why. And then when they disagree with you, then they start, it eventually turns into the name calling and the pissing contests. And I've had people call me some very bad names, man. And which is fine, dude. I got thick skin, bro. I mean, I served 10 years in the 82nd Airborne Division. You ain't good. I'd served 20 years total in the United States Army. You ain't going to hurt my feelings. But I tried to come back professional, man, But so that would be great to be on your show, man, on Wednesday and discuss a professional discussion, man. But a lot of people can't do it, bro. They sit there and call you. Can I just be honest with you and your listeners, man? Recently, the new one is the Epstein files thing. And, the left, hardcore left, they're trying to, they wish and want Trump to be so involved with Jeffrey Epstein, hoping and praying that he's involved with the illegal activity, illegalities of Epstein, what he was doing with the underage, girls and all this stuff. And they want Trump so bad to be part of that. And he's not. I mean, for Christ's sakes, I'm a Catholic. I shouldn't be talking like that. But anyways, Trump, he called the FBI on Epstein in 2005, bro.
Isn't that wild?
He called him when he found out about some of this stuff that was going on. He called the FBI on him, but they don't want to hear it. So, like I was going back to the name calling. So now we're known as, if you're a Trump supporter to the far left, you're known as on social media, you're known as a pedophile protector. So there's nothing, man. That's like calling me a racist or something, man. And yeah, if I'm a racist, dude, I suck at it because I've had a lot of black girlfriends in the Army, man. I'm just telling you straight up, man. So now we're pedophile protect. So I've been called every name in the book, man. So yes, it would be nice to be on your show and just to give a professional, debate back and forth of, I don't know if I'd go as far as wanting segregation of our union, because I think we went through that a couple hundred years ago, man. I don't think that's good for the country, but that's just my opinion. But, yeah, good professional debate is always great, bro.
One of the wild things to think about is how divided our country is between those who live in a city and a certain type of area and those who live out in a rural area or in a more loosely based kind of thing. If you notice, our red areas are very red and the blue areas are very concentrated around these larger cities.
Yeah.
and you know, it's almost as if certain people in certain situations, if you find out somebody is from another group, it's almost culturally like they've got the cooties.
Yeah.
You remember that? It's like, oh, you're a Democrat, or oh, you're a Republican.
Yeah.
It's like, why do we, as that's one of the things that really upsets me about being an American. I would love it if we could get rid of that. I'll give you an example. I don't think Trump is a Republican, right?
No.
He wasn't a Republican when he came in. He was just a leader that it seemed like he felt like he had kind of been called to do this. Like this is some type of spiritual call that said, hey, your country needs you. You're the only guy. Go in there and fix them, champ. You know, and that's kind of what he's doing in his own pompous, arrogant way. But that's how he got there, is being that person, right? Do you agree with me?
Absolutely, because he was telling that to Oprah Winfrey when he was a Democrat, when he was a registered Democrat back in the 80s. He was telling Oprah Winfrey that on her show.
Right.
I'll get involved if I see this country really starting to decline. And he went towards he started back in the, I think either late 90s or early 2000s. He changed over and started going towards the Republican Party because he started noticing how the Democrats were starting to go more left. Because let's be honest, Will, the Bill Clinton era the Bill Clinton Democrats don't even exist anymore. That's long gone. And the reason, I'll give you one example, bro. It's when he signed into law or made that executive order. I think it was just an executive order, but still he made it a law on his first term, that if you were receiving any type of government aid, that you had to work 20 hours a week, and you had to show proof to continue to earn that check, that government aid check, WIC, welfare, whatever, that you had to show proof that you were working at least at a minimum 20 hours a week. Can you imagine any Democrat today doing that? That's non-existent. My opinion, I wrote this in my book, One Term, to this day, Bill Clinton he'd be looked at as a moderate Republican, in my opinion. If you go back to his timeline when he was president for 8 years, he would be considered a moderate Republican in today's standard. I mean, I was on an aircraft heading to Haiti, and he was our commander in chief. And I remember being on a C-130, man. Hey, Will, that's a good story too. I write that in first One Term, because I was a young kid, so I kind of looked up to Clinton, man, a little bit, because I used to be a Democrat myself, and until I started seeing them drift away, and they just don't, in my opinion, they just don't make sense today, man. I think they just want to stay in power. You get rich off it, man, if you're a Democrat or a Republican. You can get rich off it, man, if you become a representative or a senator, man, and head down there to Washington, D.C., or for you up there to Washington, D.C., you can be a pretty wealthy individual, man. But don't ask me how, but I mean, we all know how. But yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, man, that was Bill Clinton was sending us to Haiti. Will, that was going to be the largest airborne invasion since D-Day. Since World War II, that was going to be the largest airborne invasion. You remember all that, man.
I was on aircraft number 3.
You told me that.
We flew straight through the center of the thunderstorm. I thought we were going to die in the aircraft. I'm telling you, I was holding on. I didn't have a seat. We had 64 paratroopers, 2 non-jumping safeties. We had an Air Force combat cameraman and 4 loadmasters on that aircraft. We couldn't have got any more packed. There was no more seatbelts left.
Yeah.
There was, I had
You have to sit on the ramp?
Yeah, child strapped into the ramp. I've done it before. It wasn't nothing new. You get where I was very comfortable. I was perfect. I had more room than anybody else and a perfect recliner. So I was in a great. So what they did was they wanted 2 non-jumping safeties on each aircraft.
Okay.
And so all the C-130s and all the C-141s, we divided up so that there was a black hat and a safety from 3rd to the 4th Air Defense Artillery Regiment on every aircraft, because 3rd to the 4th had all the Stinger missile jump packs.
Yes.
So we had all of these safeties that were very good at being safeties. They had safety with everybody. And so we put a black hat and 3rd to the 4th. So I was the black hat. I was the deputy committee chief at the time. So we had the commander and then the Jumpmaster committee chief, and then me. I was on aircraft 3, and Command Sergeant Major Adams, who was the Command Sergeant Major for 3rd to the 4th, he was my Jumpmaster buddy. He was the other safety on the other door. So me and Sergeant Major Adams were on aircraft number 3 flying into Haiti, and
that's crazy, man. That's crazy. Wasn't that crazy?
Dude, so
I'll tell you what, I've seen a lot of religious dudes all of a sudden, man, on the aircraft. And then when the Jumpmaster put up the sign, man, we're going back to Pope. We're turning around and going back to Pope. I've seen a lot of the same dudes that were doing the sign of the cross and praying and all that. They were all, oh, this is bull crap. This is bull crap. I want my jump star, man. I want my combat star. And I said, now, to be honest with you, that was going to be my 6th jump. So I was my 6th jump, man. I was going to get my combat jump there. But we were scared, man, because they already briefed us. Our S2s already briefed us. They had, I guess, connexes with metal stakes and stuff welded on top all over the drop zones, because we were going to go on. I think our mission was to land on Pegasus drop zone. If you remember Pegasus drop zone, I can't remember the other one, man. But I mean, you're talking 1994. I just got to Fort Bragg, but that was going to be my cherry jump. They call it my cherry blast. It was going to be in Haiti, and then we went back. We were in the rear, bro, because we were. I was in the 505th, man, and I want to say that 504 was on DRF1 or DRB1 at the time. For listeners out there, that's Division Readiness Brigade, which means they're the first ones into action. But the whole division was in the air.
Oh, dude, it was a massive deal. It was for where I was a E5, and I was the deputy committee chief, and I'm helping plan that whole airborne part of the operation. Me and Dan Bennett are helping. We're in the planning of it, and it was one of those things. It was really, really amazing thing. We were in the planning of every bit of it. It's something that you learn a lot from. I did anyway. And we had, one of the starkest experiences in my life was what happened when they turned the lights on and said, we're turning around. And you describe it very, very adeptly, in that I had this whole group of people that their heart was broken. They were so upset that they weren't going to get their mustard stain. Dude, and that was a big deal. They were like, no way. Because we did, dude, how many times did we get no-goes? It wasn't like it wasn't something that happened. We got no-goes all the time.
Storms.
I had
Air
a group
Force.
of people that were crying like it was an answer to prayer that they didn't have to go to combat, right? I had those that were crying mad because they didn't jump in, and I had people that were crying glad that they didn't have to jump in.
This is the way I look at it. This is the way I look at life, man. Be careful what you wish for. Be careful for what you wish for, man. It wasn't meant to be. And you know what? Diplomatically, I'll give this to Carter, because I know he was one of the main negotiators on this. To say, hey, I'm letting you know right now, there's a lot of paratroopers from Fort Bragg on their way right now. We're about to do a full-blown invasion on your nation right now. As a matter of fact, there's over 25 paratroopers right now en route to this country. I would suggest you back down right now, dude, because it ain't going to end easy for you. Because think about it, man. Everybody figured it out from Grenada, Panama, you know, all those countries down there. They kind of figured it out that we're going to protect our hemisphere, man.
Right.
You know? But, yeah, it was a pretty good show. Pretty good show here.
Oh, well, thanks for being on, man. I really enjoyed it. The All American Hour, we've done it a couple weeks in a row. We're just hanging out. Next week, we'll get us a guest on to come hang with us. Why don't you find us somebody to come hang out, and you and him can, or her can tell a story or two.
Okay, good? I'll try to. Yeah, I think I can. I think I can get a couple dudes. Old. I know there's I'm good friends with a couple field grade retired officers that'd like to come on here. That'd be cool.
All right, sounds good. All right, well, bye, everybody.
See you later, everybody. Thanks for listening to us.
Marshall and